Hello friends, I'm Nilesh and today we are going to discuss about the fill in the blanks reading section and I'm sorry for being a bit late. I was facing some technical difficulty, but I suppose everything is sorted out. So we'll quickly start with the reading fill in the blanks. And again, I would like to apologize on behalf of me and my colleagues that we were late here. All right, so let's begin with the fill in the blanks reading and uh, reading section. Now, the first thing that I would like to tell all the candidates who are just planning to appear for the PTE that you have two different type of fill in the blanks in the reading section. The first type of fill in the blanks is called the reading fill in the blanks, or it is also called as drag and drop fill in the blanks, because you have to drag a particular file, a particular option, and drop it uh, into the correct place. So it's called drag and drop. And the other type is called fill in the blanks reading and writing. This is called reading and writing because it contributes to both your reading and writing score. And it is also known as the drop down fill in the blanks, because here for each blank you have four options and you just click on the blank and there is a drop down list from which you have to select the correct answer. So that is also called as drop down. So you just remember that you just have two type of fill in the blanks. The first type is called drag and drop, and the other is called the drag and the drop down fill in the blanks. Now, as you can see on your computer screen, we have mentioned that fill in the blanks reading, drag and drop is the fill in the blanks that assesses only your reading skill, which means that all the blanks that you solve correctly here, the score is contributed to your reading part, whereas you have 4 to 5 of these tasks, or you get 4 to 5 questions or 4 to 5 passages on the day of the test. And for answering each correct blank, I mean for answering each blank correctly, you get 1 credit score towards your overall score for the reading section. So basically all you have to do is you have to read. There will be a box at the bottom of your screen, and you have to choose the correct answer and place it in the blank. So I'll just share the screen and show you that how it would look on the day of your test, and then I'll explain that how you need to solve this particular question, or what are the methods of solving it, and what are the things that you need to keep in mind while appearing for this particular task. On the day of the test, you would have this kind of thing on your screen. So you would have an instruction panel, you would have an overall timer over here, and you would have your passage over here, or the text from which you are supposed to read and give the answers. And you would have a box here from where you need to choose the options to fill in these gaps. Now, you need to remember one very important thing, that if you take a lot of time to read this and answer, you might be able to answer a lot of questions, but the actual challenge over here is the time. You have an overall time for the entire reading section, and you're supposed to finish all the tasks of the reading section in that given time. In total you have 15 to 20 tasks. There are 5 task types, and in total you will be performing around 15 to 20 different tasks in that given time, which is around 32 to 41 minutes. So essentially you just have 2 minutes to solve a blank like this. If you just divide the time between the number of tasks, you essentially only have 2 minutes to solve a task like this. And when you have to solve it in 2 minutes, it is at that time that you require the functioning of you need a lot of concentration, and you need to use your cognitive skills. You need to use your skills for reading, skimming, and inferring meaning from the surrounding words, etc., to solve this particular task. So the actual challenge is not in reading and finding the correct answers. The actual challenge is finding the correct answer in the given time, right? So let's see how you would be solving this particular question. So there is a particular method that I would suggest that you follow to solve this answer in the given time, and that particular is I'll shortly explain that how you're supposed to do that. So when you have the question in front of you, the first thing that you're supposed to do is you please skim the text. You skim the entire text, and at this time you just ignore the blanks that are given. Just completely ignore all the blanks at that point, and just look for the keywords that carry the meaning to understand what the entire text is about. Now when you're doing this, it is possible that you won't know the meaning of some words, so just read around them to guess the meaning from the contexts. And it's okay if you're not able to understand the meaning of one or two words. Just try to guess the meaning and quickly move to the next sentence. Okay. Once you finished the skimming, once you finished skimming the entire text, and you see some keywords that give you an idea that what the entire text is about. After that, you look at the words around the first blank and see where the blank is placed in the sentence. Depending on its placement, is it in the first sentence? Is it in the second sentence? Is you look at that placement, and depending on that, you start reading that particular sentence and words around that sentence. Then try to identify that the idea that is being expressed in this sentence. What is the author, what is the writer trying to say? What is the idea that he or she is trying to give by writing those particular words? Try to see the way the words have been written. Is it an argument that is being presented, or is it a new point of view that is being presented? And then try to think that what word would create a meaning in the entire context. What is the word that you will fill in the gap that would create the meaning in the context? Now that word, when you're thinking this, sometimes a word or maybe even a group of words would just come up in your mind. So it's okay if you're able to just think about a word or a group of words at that moment. And while you're doing this, you can even use you can use grammar clues to decide between the possible options by looking at the options in the box given in the bottom of your screen, and also think about all the possible collocations and try to choose a word that fits both the meaning and the grammar. Now, once you fill up that first blank, then move to the next blank. And if you cannot do one blank, it's okay, don't worry. Just move to the next blank, because the more blanks you will fill in, the easier the missing ones would be. And once you finished solving this, doing this, just check all the unused words. That means after uh, putting all the words in the boxes, you would have some unused words at the bottom of your screen, maybe 3 words. Just see that, just try to confirm that whatever you've chosen is correct or not. Now I'll quickly explain you how to do this with an example. So let's do one example for this, and you will get an idea that what or how to exactly use this particular method for solving the reading fill in the blanks, drag and drop. Now I'll just give you a quick review of what you have to do for solving the fill in the blanks, drag and drop fill in the blanks. You first skim the entire text, skim the text and see that just at that. And now when you're skimming the text for the first time, just ignore all the other all the gaps. Don't worry about the gaps. Just try to get the overall idea that is being presented. You're looking at the keywords and trying to just get the meaning, or what is the idea that is being expressed in uh, that particular passage. And once you get the idea that is being expressed, then you just go on and start solving the blanks. All right, so let's do this. Here we have one question. Okay, here, so screen, now I'll be seeing one question which reads that technology and flexible work dash have had a significant impact on today's busy companies. In terms of productivity, it seems the dash has shifted from managing employees in the workplace to monitoring their total dash. No matter where they choose to work from, whether this trend will continue depends on some dash on how well it works for everyone concerned. Now, when you read this text for the first time, just ignoring the blanks, what you will see is that this text is now at this moment you just try and see in this particular question what are the keywords that give the meaning. So the keywords are technology, flexible work, significant impact, busy companies, productivity, shifted from managing employees to monitoring their total dash, what matter, work, trend, depends, works for everyone. So just skimming this text for the first time gives you an idea that this text has something to do with technology, do something to do with flexible work in technology companies, and it has something to do with productivity. It concerns with productivity. So now once you skimmed it, you know that you are reading a text that involves companies, technology, productivity, and flexible work, and it gives you an idea about it is talking about managing employees in the workplace. So let us look at the placement of the first blank. Now the first blank here is in the first sentence itself. So we'll read the first sentence and try to answer the first blank. So the first sentence is technology and flexible work dash have had a significant impact on today's busy companies. Okay, so now if you just read it this way, technology and work dash. So technology is one thing and flexible work dash is some other thing. And what these two things have done, so the first is technology and the flexible work dash have had a significant impact on today's busy companies. So there is one thing, that is technology, and there is some other thing. These two things combined have had a significant impact on today's busy companies. Now, we look at the options that are given in the text box below, and the options are focus, deals, way, practices, selling, output, and extent. Now, before we try to put every word here and see that which word makes sense, the first thing that we'll do is we'll try to just think that what kind of word, if we put here, will give meaning to this entire text. So the word that we would like to put here would be that would make the entire this phrase flexible work dash. First, it should sound logical, and it should create a meaning. So we are looking for a word that collocates with work. That is a collocation for work, and it should agree with the grammar of verb phrase. So when we try to put up all the words from the option, the only option that makes sense here is technology and flexible work practices. So practices would be your answer for this particular blank. Technology and flexible work practices have had a significant impact on today's busy companies. No other word here makes sense when we put it into the first blank. So our first answer here would be practices. Now let's move to the second blank and see that what type of word we are looking at. So in terms of productivity, so we are specifically talking in terms of productivity. It seems the dash has shifted from managing employees in the workplace to monitoring their total dash. Now, it seems that the dash has shifted from managing employees in the workplace. So that now we're talking in terms of productivity, and we are saying that something has uh, something has shifted, and it has shifted from managing employees in the workplace to monitoring their total blank, no matter where they choose to work from. No matter where they choose to work from. So what the idea we are getting here is that it does not matter where the employees choose to work from the for productivity. So in terms of productivity, it does not matter where the employees choose to work from. So employees are free to work from any place in terms of productivity. And it seems the dash has shifted from managing employees in the workplace. Now we'll try to look for a collocation that goes easily with shifted. So let's just try and put each word. In terms of productivity, it seems the focus has shifted from managing employees in the workplace. It seems the deals has shifted. It seems the way has shifted. It seems we already use practices. It seems the selling has shifted. It seems the output has shifted, and it seems the extent has shifted from managing employees in the workplace. Now, when you compare all these options, the only word that collocates easily with shifted is focus has shifted. Focus has shifted is one collocation that we use on day-to-day basis, or you use regularly. So, and this is the only word that is creating meaning, because it seems the deals has shifted does not create meaning. It seems the way has shifted, maybe, but it's not a collocation. So that goes with this word shifted. So we'll be choosing focus. Now coming to now the text has become more clearer for us, because we already have the word practices and we have the word focus. Sorry for that. Yep. Now we are becoming the entire thing is becoming much clear to us. Now the idea is becoming clear that technology and flexible work practices have had significant impact on busy companies. And in terms of productivity, it seems the focus has shifted from managing employees in workplace to monitoring their total blank. Now, total, we already used focus and practices. So total deals, total way, total selling, total output, or total extent. Now, this one is easy one, because total output is a regularly used collocation, and we also this also creates a meaning, because we are interested in productivity, and productivity, when the total output increases, the productivity increases. And so the focus has shifted from just managing employees in the workplace to monitoring their total output. So the correct choice here is output. And now we have the last blank, which is whether this trend will continue depends to some dash on how well it works for everyone concerned. So will this trend whether this trend will continue to some dash on how well it works for everyone concerned. Now there is a collocation again here, and the collocation is some extent, which means partly, which means that the trend will continue. Whether this trend will continue or not, it depends partly on how well it works for everyone. So to some extent on how well it works on everyone. So there were a lot of collocations in this one, and you will have a lot of collocations in fill in the blanks, drag and drop. So make sure that you are aware about a lot of collocations, that you are aware about all the academic collocations associated with PTE, which is around a list of 2,500 collocations, and you can find a list of lot of academic vocabulary and collocations from the PTE tutorials website and app. So try to get familiar with all the collocations, try to make sentences using that collocations, and when you learn new collocations, make sure that you understand the use of that collocations. All right, so this was one one of the blanks, and basically we see that in this drag and drop blanks, we're focusing more on we use collocations more um, compared to any other uh, logic or using any other technique. It's more important to know collocations to solve this type of this particular type of fill in the blanks. Now let us do one more of this type of fill in the blanks, so which is slightly different from the other type that we discussed. All right, so this is the other one. People are naturally concerned about the polluting dash of energy sources such as oil or coal. But are wind farms the blank question mark? With their enormous rotating blades, these huge dash are becoming more commonplace in certain dash of the world. Yet, for some people, they are an unwelcome dash of the landscape. Now, before we start moving to the first blank, understand that there are some keywords here giving you an idea about the entire passage. The keywords are people being concerned about the polluting energy sources, oil or coal, wind farms, enormous rotating blades, commonplace, world, unwelcome dash of the landscape. Now just skimming this for one time gives you an idea that you are reading about um, the concerns of pollution and about the oil or about energy sources such as oil or coal. And then we are also looking at the other part, which is wind farms. And so wind farms are comparatively, when we talk about oil or coal, we are talking about energy sources that are polluting, whereas wind farms are other type of energy source and they do not pollute. But there is one another type of concern with that is that some people think that they are unwelcome in the landscape. So this is the general idea that we get reading this one. Now coming to the first sentence and seeing that the first blank is placed right after polluting, right? So we as we discussed in the earlier blank, that we'll be looking for words that we will be mostly looking for collocations here, right? So let's see what kind of word is suitable for this first blank. People are naturally concerned about the polluting dash of energy sources. Now, there are more than one sources. Oil or coal is, they've given the examples such as oil or coal. So there is not one energy source. There are more than one energy sources. And these energy sources are having polluting dash. So, and people are concerned about that. So we are looking for a word here that is plural, because the word the energy sources we are talking about uh, so we're talking about something that is concerned. So let's see what are the options. So the options are about the polluting machines of energy sources, polluting product, polluting site, polluting feature, polluting answer, polluting regions, polluting damages, and polluting effects. Now, so you have polluting effects, polluting damages, polluting machines. Now, polluting damages does not create any meaning or does not create any sense. People are naturally concerned about the polluting damages of. Now this does not create any meaning. So you have concern about the polluting machines of energy sources or polluting effects of energy sources. Now when you just put these two words, you just get a clear idea that polluting effects would be a much a word that would create a meaning to this entire thing, because the other part we are talking about wind farms, which do not have a polluting effect. So in the first part we are talking about sources that have polluting effects. So here the answer would be polluting effects, right? So people are naturally concerned about the polluting effects of energy sources such as oil or coal. But are wind farms the blank? Are wind farms the blank? So are wind farms the machines? Are wind farms the product? Are wind farms the site? Are wind farms the feature? Are wind farms the answer? So looking at all the blanks, just read the first part of the question, first part of the sentence before the comma. The first part says that people are concerned about polluting effects of the energy sources. So at one part we are talking about the effects of energy sources, and then we are talking about wind farms. So we're saying that are wind farms the answer? That is the only word that would create a meaning here, because are wind farms the machines? Yeah, maybe, but for what? So there is no clarity if we use any other word. Or are wind farms the product? Now here we are not talking about the product, but we are talking about a concern, a problem. So we are talking about a concern of people. So here it would be an answer to the concern of people. But are wind farms the answer would be the only correct answer over here, right? Now, with enormous rotating blades, these huge dash are becoming more commonplace in certain dash of the world. Now, when we see we have the third blank and the fourth blank, both in the same sentence, and a quick glance just at the options gives you a clear hint that regions is the only option that would make sense. So what we will do smartly here is that we would first fill up this blank to make the text more clear, and to make the entire sentence more clear for us, and it would be easier for us to then solve this blank. So now the third option that we are supposed to solve, or the third blank, and that is with this enormous rotating blades, these huge dash are becoming more commonplace in certain regions of the world. Now, if you look here, we are talking about, in this sentence, we are talking about these. Now, what are these? So these here means the wind farms. So wind farms is a plural noun, and we are looking for a substitute for the wind farms. So these huge dash are becoming a more common place in certain regions of the world. So we are looking for a word which is plural, and which is a substitute of wind farms. So if you look at the options here, machines, yes, it can be a substitute of wind farms. Product, you can't exactly call an entire farm as a product. If it would have been a windmill, the machine that practically uh, gives out or produces electricity, or just a particular thing, but we are talking about the entire wind farms. And yes, we are looking for a word that is, again, it's a plural word, so product would not be the appropriate one. And then all the other answers, all the other options, no, would not create a meaning. So yes, the only option here, that is both a plural noun substituting the wind farms, creating a meaning in the entire text. And uh, this is something that you can choose as your answer for this blank. So it would be machines. So see, friends, what we are doing here is we are this word here, these, gives us an idea that we are looking for some plural noun. So we be very careful when you are reading these words, and the answer, you'll get some hints right from here that what type of word you're looking for in the option, and then look at the options below from the box and find the answer. Now for this blank, yet for some people they are an unwelcome blank of the landscape. Now, unwelcome product of the landscape, unwelcome sight of the landscape, unwelcome feature of the landscape, unwelcome regions, damages, effects. All right, so you there'd be two words that would that you could possibly think or get confused between, and that is an unwelcome sight and an unwelcome feature of the landscape. Now, sight of the landscape and feature of the landscape, both with the word landscape, sight and feature, both would be as collocate. They both collocate with this particular word, but there is only a slight difference here, and that is that unwelcome sight would then require the word in instead of the word of. An unwelcome sight in the landscape. That would be the correct uh, way of writing it. So if it is of the landscape, then the answer would be an unwelcome feature of the landscape. So friends, whenever you find this kind of blanks where you feel that two or more than two options are correct, then in that case, just look for the preceding and succeeding words to see that do they make sense to you grammatically, are they meaningful or not. So an unwelcome feature of the landscape. So now this entire text makes the meaning. So always look for preceding and succeeding words to the blank. Look for the words that give you signal, like here the word these gives you the signal that we are talking about wind farms. So we are looking for a substitute for wind farms here in this blank. And certain regions of the world, this is something that you'll get right away. So when you're reading for the first time, there could be some words that you will get right away, that there would be no there would be no even slight doubt in your mind. So just put that words uh, in the first time itself, so that the text starts to become more clear for you, right? And since you have to solve the entire thing in a very less time, so make sure that you're able to do it as efficiently and as quickly as possible. So you'll have to develop a lot of skills of reading. You have to develop a lot of basic knowledge about the collocation, and you will also have to practice a lot. So if you look at this in this way, you are going to have 4 to 5 drag and drop blanks in your test, and 4 to 5 drag and drops in a test means that you would essentially be reading around 500 or more than 600 words, because average you have around 100 words. It could be less than that, but on an average you have uh, around 100 words. So it will be around 500 to 600 words you're reading, and then you have approximately 10 minutes to read all those 5 blanks and give the answers. So you need to be really quick. So you cannot just uh, sit and practice and try and solve the questions, find the correct answers, but then take a lot of time for that. The first thing that you need to do is first, or the basic thing for this reading fill in the blanks, is that you need to develop your reading speed. Because if you look at the entire reading section, you have very less time for each question, and fill in the blanks are really important question types, both drag and drop down, because they carry a lot of weight towards your reading score. So you need to understand this, that to solve all the 10 questions of fill in the blanks, 10 or 11 questions that you have combined for drag and drop and drop down, you are reading a lot of words in a very short time. So the first or the basic thing that you need to do is to improve your reading speed. You need to be really quick when you're reading, and you really need to be able to identify the key words. You would be reading around mm, for just for the fill in the blanks. On an average, you'll be reading combined for drop and drop down and drag and drop. You would be reading around say uh, 2000 to 2500 words in just a span of maybe 20 minutes. So you are reading essentially 200 words a minute, and you also have to answer. So if you do not if you're not able to do that for basic thing to begin with, then that is the first thing that you should start doing. You should start at least reading 2000 words in 10 or 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, try to first read 2000 words in 20 minutes. Make sure that you're at least able to finish reading that in the given time and able to understand that. That is the basic practice that you'll have to do, and you'll have to learn a lot of collocations. And whenever you learn a new collocation, try to make sentences. Just don't read the word or just don't read the collocation. Try to make sentences from that. If you don't do that, it will be very difficult for you to find the correct answers in the on the day of the test. All right, so let's move to the other type of fill in the blanks, which is drop down fill in the blanks. Now in this type of fill in the blanks, there is one basic thing that you need to remember, and that basic thing is that this fill in the blank would be contributing not only to your reading section, but this fill in the blank also has a big contribution to your writing score. It affects your writing scores a lot. It has a big effect on your writing score. It is one of the very important tasks and carries a lot of weight towards your writing. So you need to remember, you need to give it the same importance that you are giving to the essays and other tasks. I've seen a lot of students giving a lot, practicing essays every day, but then not practicing a lot of reading and writing fill in the blanks. But you need to understand that reading and writing fill in the blanks also carry weightage towards your writing section as well. So you need to practice these blanks, and uh, you need to develop your reading skills. Now, fill in the blanks, reading and writing are also known as the drop and down fill in the blanks. We also call them as drop down fill in the blanks, because you click the blank and you have a list of options. And as I said, both reading and writing skills are assessed and the scores are contributed towards that. And you will have 5 to 6 of these tasks on the test day. And remember that this would be comparatively longer than the other type of fill in the blanks. The task would have the question type. There will be a lot of questions in this question type. So you need to be really prepared for this type of for this type of blanks. All right, so let's just have a quick view at what's the strategy that you need to have when you're doing this blank. So again, just like the other type of blank, you'll have to read the text once to get an overall meaning. So to get an overall meaning, you would have to, now in this type of text, you'll have to read very carefully, because the text would be longer compared to the previous one, and it would have you'll have to understand it properly. In the drag and drop, there are a lot of things that come to your aid. The first is that the text in drag and drop, the text is shorter compared to this one. It is comparatively easier. So, and there are a lot of collocations. So the answers just click in the first attempt if you have practiced, even if you have done some practice. But for this type of blanks, for the drop down blanks, you'll have to do intensive reading. You'll have to read everything very carefully and understand the overall meaning. Once you have done that, once you have read the text completely, then you reread the sentence with the first blank and think that what word will make a meaning in the context. Look at the sentence grammar to decide that what type of word you're looking at. Are you looking at a noun? Are you looking at a verb? What type of word you are looking at? A past tense verb, a present tense verb? So, or are you looking for an adjective? What kind of word you're looking for? Try to first think it before opening the blank. Remember, it is very important to first think about what type of word you're looking for before opening up the options, because once you open the options, there are chances that you would get confused. So it is better to first just think for a moment what type of word you're looking for. And once you know that what type of word you're looking for, a word that would create meaning and the word that would be grammatically correct, see that type of word, and then click on the blank and then choose for the word from your four options that you have. Choose a word that is both grammatically correct and that creates a meaning in the entire text. Now repeat the same thing for the other blanks as well. And as we discussed previously, if you cannot do one blank, don't worry, just move to the next blank, because the more blanks you solve, the text becomes more clear, and then you can go back and again solve the blank that you've done. But you need to remember, this is although there is no individual time for the task, there is an entire overall time in this section, so you have to solve this in time. So if you get stuck in one blank, it's going to be very difficult for you. It's going to be very difficult for you to finish everything and get you might need to rush in the end. So it's better to not spend a lot of time in one blank. If you don't get the answer, just move to the next one, and once you have solved or once you have found the answer to the others, then come to the one that you are not able to solve. Now when you are trying to think that what type of word would be a suitable word, so before you have opened the options, just think, just see, just try to figure out a word that is both grammatically correct. Try to think about collocation at that moment. Try to think the word form. So should the word be in the noun form, or should it be in the adjective form? Or so try to think about all these things before opening the options, because once you open the options, you just select the one that matches with the thing that you've thought. So you thought one word in your mind, or a group of words in your mind, and then you see that in the option, choose it, and just answer your question. Right, so let us do an example for this type of fill in the blanks. So all right, so here is the text. So this time I'll give you some time to read this text once. All right, hope You're done with the reading part. So let's see that how to solve this one. All right. So bamboo is a favored plant among architects and designers because of its incredible strength and durability. One Colombian architect dashed to it as nature's steel, but in many respects, it is even better than steel. It is lighter and more flexible, and these dash make it the ideal building material in areas that suffer earthquakes and severe weather patterns. Construction workers in places such as Hong Kong rely on bamboo scaffolding, whatever the dash of the tower block they may be working on. Over a billion people around the world live in a home that is made of bamboo, and China blank the plant for thousands of years. The only drawback to this remarkable product is the cost of transporting it. So for those dash live in cooler regions of the world, the enormous advantages of this natural building material are less accessible. Okay, now before we start reading and solving this, I want all of you to understand that it is very important to have a look at the punctuations in any, specifically in this type of fill in the blanks. In all these tasks in reading, even in the MCQs and even in the other type of fill in the blanks, it is important to have a look at the punctuation marks. But specifically in this question type, make sure that you know that where you have your colons, where you have the full stop, where you have the commas, where you have the semicolons, you need to understand that that part is separating or presenting a different idea. And so just make sure that you look at all the punctuation marks. All right, now starting with the first sentence. Bamboo is a favored plant among architects and designers because of its incredible strength and durability. So this first sentence gives you talks about some properties of bamboo, that it is a favored plant among architects and designers, and the reason, its incredible strength and durability. Now the second sentence is, one Colombian architect dash to it as nature's steel, but in many respects it's even better than steel. So again, this sentence says that there is one Colombian architect, and that Colombian architect says that it's dash to it as nature steel. So now think about what type of word would be suitable over here. So one Colombian architect has to say something about this, about bamboo, and that what he says is that um, it is as nature, that it is nature's steel. That's what he says. Now we see the options and try to figure out that which one would create a meaning over here, and which one would be, and it would even be grammatically correct. So one Colombian architect implies to it as nature's steel, mentions to it as nature's steel, indicates to it as nature's steel, and refers to it as nature's steel. Now, yeah, if you say that mentions it as nature's steel, maybe, indicates it as nature's steel, maybe, but when you have the word to right after the blank, in that case, you can't say mentions to it as nature's steel. You can't say indicates to it as nature's steel, or implies to it as nature's steel. The only word that goes here and that would create meaning and as well as be grammatically correct is refers to it as nature's steel. So because you have the word to right after the blank, so you cannot use any other word. You just need to use the word refers, because refers to is the only word that would create a meaning. All the other words, although they might create a meaning, but they won't be grammatically correct. So mentions it, indicates it, maybe, but because of the word to, you have to use the option refers. So one Colombian architect refers to it as nature's steel, but in many respects, it's even better than steel. Okay, so now we get an additional information about bamboo. So there's a Colombian architect who says that it is nature's steel, but then in many respects it is even better than steel. So how it is better? It is lighter and it is more flexible. Okay, and these dash make it the ideal building material in areas that suffer earthquakes and severe weather patterns. Now we are looking for a word that talks about these dash. So what is the word these? What does it refer to? It refers to bamboo being lighter and bamboo being flexible. So bamboo is lighter than steel and bamboo is flexible than steel. So the word these refers to being flexible and being lighter. So being flexible and being lighter, what exactly is this? Are they abilities? Are they qualities? Are they talents? Or are they values? So when we are talking about a particular material and comparing it with steel, saying that it is lighter and more flexible, so these are the qualities of bamboo. So this is the only word that would create the meaning here, because if it would have been about some if it would have been about some individual person's abilities, individual person's talents in a particular field, if we are talking about that, then maybe we could have used the word abilities or talents, or if it would have been about values. But being lighter and being more flexible are actually qualities. So this the word these here tells us that we are talking about being flexible and being lighter. So because of that, the answer would be the qualities. So remember, friends, that in this type of fill in the blanks, you will always have to get the answer from the surrounding texts. So you'll have to be surrounding words, look at the surrounding words and see that which word is trying to refer to what information. The word these refers to this information. So you need to write down the exact word as in the answer, and the exact word here is qualities. Now moving ahead, these qualities make it ideal building material in areas that suffer earthquakes and severe weather patterns. Full stop. Construction workers in places such as Hong Kong rely on bamboo scaffolding, whatever the dash of the tower block they may be working on. So now here we are talking about construction workers in places such as Hong Kong, and they are relying on, so they are depending on bamboo scaffolding. Now here it is important to know the meaning of scaffolding, and if you don't know what scaffolding is, you just try and guess it from the surrounding words. That here we have the word construction workers, we have the word bamboo, and previously we talked about bamboo being lighter and flexible and it being compared with steel. So you need to understand that from the surrounding information we need to come to a conclusion that scaffolding has something to do with construction and something to do with being a replacement of bamboo being a replacement of steel. So scaffolding is something that is done with normally with steel, but here they're using bamboo to do it. So even if you don't know the meaning of scaffolding, you know that it is something that is done using bamboo in Hong Kong in the construction industry. All right. So from this we get an idea that something bamboo is used for some activity called scaffolding by construction workers, and they use it whatever the dash of the tower block they are, whatever the dash of tower block they are. Now the options here are whatever the mass of tower block they are, whatever the top of the tower block they are, whatever the summit of the tower block they are, or whatever the height of the tower block they may be working on. Now the other words would not create a meaning here because summit is normally used for mountains, top of the tower block they may be working on. When you say top of the tower block, which literally means that you're standing right on the tower block, right, like that. So here is the tower block and you're standing here, so you're saying you're top of the tower block. But the construction workers here are not exactly so this won't create any proper meaning. Mass again has something to do with the weight and the mass of the block, so that even would not create a meaning. The only word that would create a meaning here is height. So in this type of blank, again, as we are observing that understanding the meaning of certain things or trying to relate the sentences with each other is very important. uh, Grammatically correct words are important, and but getting the understanding the meaning from the surrounding text is very important. If you are not able to understand the meaning, you might not be able to solve some of the blanks, even if you um, uh, understand the grammar. All right, now moving to the next part. Over a billion people around the world live in a home that is made of bamboo, and China dashed the plant for thousands of years. So now, if you look at the flow of the information starts with that construction workers are using bamboo at, at all heights, and billion people around the world also live in homes that are made of bamboo. So this information again talks about the use of bamboo. So China dashed the plant for thousands of years. So China has cultivated, China cultivate, China cultivates, or China had cultivated. Now, we are talking about, we are referring to a period of time, and that period of time is still continuing. China dashed the plant for thousands of years. So here the information is saying that China, um, now the word has cultivated, cultivate, cultivates, and had cultivated. So cultivate the plant does not make sense. Cultivates the plant for thousands of years, maybe. Had cultivated the plant for thousands of years, maybe. Has cultivated the plant for thousands of years, maybe. But now look at the overall meaning of the entire passage and see that they are talking about China is about a period. They're talking about a period that it was doing it for thousands of years, but it is still doing it. So China, so we are looking referring to a period of time that is still continuing. So they were doing it and they're still doing it. So the option here that would suit here is has cultivated the plant for thousands of years. They've not stopped cultivating it. If they had stopped cultivating it, you could have said that China had cultivated the plant, but they are not no longer cultivating it, right? So because and if there would have been that there would not have been the mention of thousands of years, in that case you could have said that China cultivates the plant. That means it's still cultivating it, but there is no mention of the past. Then here we could have said that cultivates the plant. But since we are talking about a period of time that was there in the past and it is still continuing here, we'll be saying that it has cultivated the plant for thousands of years. Now the last blank that we have here is the only drawback to this remarkable product. Now, till here we are talking about all the good things about bamboo, but as soon as you read the words, the only drawback, you must become aware or you must become alert that now we are talking about some negative aspects of bamboo. The only drawback of this remarkable product is the cost of transporting it. Now, when we say transporting it, means that uh, it is very difficult to transport this product bamboo from one place to another. It's very costly to do that. So we understood that we cannot practically transport it from one region to another region. Now, so for those dash live in cooler regions of the world, the enormous advantages of this natural building material are less accessible. So we are getting a clear indication that for those dash live in cooler regions of the world, the advantages of this building material less accessible. So people who are living in the cooler regions, they don't get the advantages of this natural building material, uh, bamboo. So what are the options? So for those which live, those may live, those who live, and those are live. Now we need a relative pronoun for this word, and so no other word will make sense here except the word who. So for those who live in cooler regions of the world, because for people it must be who or that. Now since we don't have the option that, so the only option here is who. So it would be, so for those who live in cooler regions in the world. So this is how you'll be solving this particular type of blank. Remember that when we trying to solve this entire thing, we are mostly have to use a lot of information from the surrounding text. So that is one of the most important thing for this type of blank, and that is that you need a lot of information from the surrounding text to solve this type of fill in the blanks. Now coming to the final conclusion for this entire reading section, or for the fill in the blanks of the reading section, you need to understand that you would need to solve all the fill in the blanks using collocation, grammar, and information from the surrounding word. When it comes to drag and drop fill in the blanks, you might be able to solve by using a lot of using logic and with some little practice. But when it comes to reading and writing blanks, which is the longer drop down blanks, you'll have to read and understand. You will have to do intensive reading, start to understand signal words, start to understand signal words that give you the meaning, that help you to understand words from the surrounding text. And that would be the best way to go through it. And you'll have to do a lot of reading for this particular type of fill in the blanks, because if you don't do a lot of reading, then it will be very difficult for you to solve these blanks, because it is a time bound task. So you'll have to practice, a lot. So make sure that you have cultivate the habit of reading regularly, and try to read at least 2000 words in 20 minutes. Try to cultivate that habit, because if you are not able to just read 2000 words in those 20 minutes and understand what is written, then figuring out the answers is completely out of question. So try and do that. Okay, practice that, and you have a lot of material that is available online on PTE tutorials that you can use to practice that. We have a lot of shared material on our Telegram app. So there is an app, a PTE tutorials app on Telegram. You can download the link from the desktop, and you'll get the um, link to join that group. On the group we have a lot of supporting members who are more than happy to solve all your doubts. So make sure that you join that group, and you can use the services of PT tutorials mobile phone application as well to practice all these questions. We have a question bank, and many of the questions are very similar to what you would find in the PT test, or some of them might be even the repeated questions from the PT tests. So try to solve all that. And before signing off, I'm just sharing one last fill in the blank for reading and writing. That is the drop down fill in the blank. So let us see how many of you are able to get the answers for this one. Experts have waited a considerable amount of time for this much needed book. Now we have a new and very thorough survey of wetland plant species. The content is extensive and totally up to date, and as a reference blank, it represents extremely good value. In addition to the editors, there are 35 well-chosen contributors who have put in tremendous amount of work to dash the reader with maps and indexes and colorful photographs. The planned descriptions are straightforward yet scholarly and flicking through the pages. Blank the writer's passion for the subject. Each of the 8 sections has an overview, blank current concerns and future conservation plans. Despite a few gaps and the occasional unsatisfactory illustration, this handbook will remind botanists and specialists of the importance of protecting the country's plant life. Blank person interested in the topic, whether student or hard expert, will find it indispensable. All right. For all the blanks, I'll just like to point out one thing. Look at the placement of commas. Look at the placement of commas. All right. Look at the placement of commas and words. I'll give you 2 minutes to solve this one, and then I'll tell you the answers. Right. So your 2 minutes starts now. Right, 1 minute, guys. 1 more minute. All right. So the answer to the first blank is, all right, let's see. Experts have waited a considerable amount of time for this much needed book. So experts have waited for a long time for some book, and that book is a much needed book. Now we have a new and very thorough survey of wetland plant species. So there is a plant species and there's a new and thorough survey of this plant species in that book. So here they're talking about this particular book, which has survey of wetland plant species. The content is, so the content of the book is extensive and totally up to date and as a reference dash. So reference piece, reference report, reference book, or a reference material. Now here they're talking about the content of the book and not the book. So the content of the book is the most suitable word here that creates meaning is material. The content acts as a reference material. Again, reference material is also a collocation, and that is the only word that would give meaning to this entire sentence. So the content is extensive and totally up to date and acts as a reference material. I think I'm missing a word over here. Okay. And a reference material. Okay. It represents extremely good value. So here again, we are talking about the content. In addition to the editors, there are 35 well-chosen contributors who have put in tremendous amount of work to dash the reader with maps and indexes and colorful photographs. So there are editors who have put work, but apart from the editors, there are 35 well-chosen contributors. And what have these contributors done? So these contributors have put in tremendous amount of work to dash the reader, to manage the reader, to assist the reader, to contribute the reader, to hand the reader with maps and indexes and colorful photographs. So to assist the reader, to manage the reader, to contribute the reader, to hand the reader. So to assist the reader is the word that would create meaning over here, and that is also the word that, because if you say that to work to manage the reader, it doesn't make sense. To contribute the reader, you need to have contribute to the reader, so there is no to after the blank, so it will be assist. Okay, or to hand to the reader. So even if you want to use the word contribute or hand, it should be to. Contribute to, hand to, but because we do not have a to after the blank, so it will be assist the reader. Now the third one is the plant descriptions are straightforward yet scholarly and flicking through the pages. Comma, there is a comma over there. Blank the writer's passion for the subject. It can sense the writer's passion for the subject. One sense for the writer's passion for the subject. You can sense the writer's passion for the subject. He senses the writer's passion for the subject. Now, you can sense the writer's passion for the subject. The plant description are straightforward, you're scholarly and flicking through the pages. You can sense the writer's passion for the subject. It can sense, or he senses, does not make sense, because it can sense, you need a reference to something. So there is no reference word there about which you're talking here. When we say it can sense, it means that you're talking about something, but there is nothing that has been discussed before about which we are saying. So it or he does not make sense because there is no reference word that would that we are talking about. So you can sense, one sense does not make any sense here, does not make any does not give meaning. So you can sense the writer's passion for the subject. Each of the 8 sections has an overview, dash current concerns and future conservation plans. Again, the answer is highlighting the current concern and future conservation plans, because the other words here again do not create any meaning. Highlighting the current concerns or focus. And the last one is, despite a few gaps and the occasional unsatisfactory illustration, this handbook will remind botanists and specialists of the importance of protecting the country's past life. There is a full stop over there, guys. So a new sentence begins. This would be the first word. Dash person interested in the topic, whether student or hardened expert, will find it indispensable. So every person is the only option that will be suitable over here. So because it's a when we say person, so it's the only determiner that we'll be using with the word person. All right, because it's a singular noun. All, if it would have been all would come with a plural, any one of the same thing. So every is the only option over here. So every would be your answer over here. All right. So these were the answers for this particular blank. And now, as we saw, that you need a lot of you need to do a lot of reading. You need to be completely aware about a lot of collocations, and then you need to read the surrounding information. The surrounding information will give you the idea. So a lot of things are involved when you're solving this particular question. You need to be aware about more than one thing. So Practice is the key. The more you practice, the better you'll be in this particular task. Now let's just have a look at the question and answers. Okay. So I think most of the questions have been answered by my colleagues and the support team. So I think there's nothing much to answer here. All right, friends. So before signing off, I'll just say one thing. This is one task. If you are facing a difficulty, I've seen many students who are just at 65, they want to go to 79 and are facing particular difficulty in this task. For all of them, and those anyone who wants to jump one band or who is just giving the PT for the first time but wants to score perfect in the first attempt, I would just have one suggestion: practice a lot for these tasks. They really carry weight, and if you are able to master these tasks, you are going to really perform good in the reading and writing sections of PT. So make sure that you practice this. Do not just go out there and select anything randomly. A lot of logic, a mix of logic and a mix of understanding of collocation, understanding the meaning from surrounding words. All this is required. And yes, last but not the least, time management, because you have to solve this in limited time. So practice reading a lot of things in a limited time, and that would really help you to ace this task. So practice. You have a lot of materials available on PT tutorials mobile phone app. You have a lot of materials available on PT tutorials website, and you can even join the PT tutorials Telegram group, where we have around more than 4,000 members, all PT aspirants just like you, who are trying to achieve their aim. And we also have some senior members who have already achieved their score, and now they're helping the new members who want to get their desired score. So make sure that you join that particular Telegram group, and you can get a lot of information there. All right, friends, I'm signing off, and I'll see you after 2 weeks for the next webinar. Till then, practice and feel free to ask any questions on our Facebook group, Telegram group, and we'll be happy to answer you. All right, bye-bye.